I'd just like to ask some questions on whaling, if I could, to kick off. And I'd like to thank the department for getting responses to my last questions on notice, as is mentioned by Senator Birmingham. The two questions I asked on notice was whether we'd invited the Japanese to participate in our Southern Ocean non-lethal whaling program, and your response was that that invitation would be done through the IWC at the recent meeting. And I also asked whether whether Minister Hunt had made any representations to the Japanese government relating to the dolphin hunt and slaughter at Taiji. And you also said on questions I noticed that you strongly advocate for protection of cetaceans, and you'll raise this issue of Taiji at the IWC meeting. So I was just wanted to check on those two issues, whether you raised the issue at the IWC meeting and what the response was from the Japanese.
You happy to lead off? In relation to the first question, Senator, I am aware that Minister Hunt did raise with the Japanese delegation there, or invite them formally to be part of the Southern Ocean Research program. So I know that did occur. In relation to the second question, unfortunately, none of the three people at the table were at that meeting in Slovenia recently, but we had very fulsome reports back from the meeting. In relation to the second question, I might throw to Whish-Wilson.
Thank you. Chris Schweitzer, Assistant Secretary, Marine and International Heritage Branch. The reporting back, and I've confirmed this with one of the officers who was there, Minister Hunt himself did not raise the Taiji dolphin hunts in the short meeting he had with Commissioner Morishita. They did talk about Southern Ocean research whaling. I haven't been able to ascertain whether any of the other officers would have raised it, but it would seem to be unlikely.
If that was the case, would you be able to let me know on notice? Would there be a reason why Minister Hunt didn't raise this? Was it just a time constrictions, or was it not a serious enough issue for the government to raise it?
I can't actually speak for Minister Hunt, but I suspect it probably would have been timing. It was a very short meeting prior to the commencement of the formal opening plenary, 15 minutes before the plenary opened. So I suspect the Minister would have picked only a few matters to raise.
Could you also comment, I'm sorry, Ms. Schweitzer, whether Australia's looked at or potentially talked about reforming the IWC to incorporate the hunting of small cetaceans and dolphins, whether that was discussed at all in a broader context?
At almost every meeting of the Commission, there is a move to get the Commission to look a little bit more at what are known as the small cetaceans, because at the moment the Commission's remit is taken to be the great whales, which doesn't include dolphins and porpoises and the like. That having been said, the Commission's Scientific Committee, which meets every year, does have a working group that looks at small cetaceans and the threats they're subject to and the pressures they're under, and a number of jurisdictions do make voluntary donations to the Small Cetacean Research Fund, including Australia in the past. We've made a large donation in the past. That having been said, there has been no agreement yet that the Commission itself should formally consider small cetacean matters. It is one of the ongoing objectives for the Australian government in terms of reforming the IWC to become a modern conservation organisation to get a greater focus on small cetaceans. But it's a long-standing objective, and we do that by supporting improved research on small cetaceans and therefore raising awareness of the sets of issues to which they're subject.
Okay, but it would make sense, given a very high-profile issue with Taiji. I think just about every senator who's here has probably had about 1 million emails in the last couple of months. It is obviously a very high-profile issue right around the world. That's something we could show leadership on. Would you agree that IWC is still the correct avenue for raising these concerns?
Yes, that's the government's position to date, that we do continue to raise these concerns, but we've had no success across the board yet in putting it as part of the formal remit of the Commission. But there is, as I said, quite a lot and an ongoing program of work under the Scientific Committee, which then does report to the Commission on those matters.
Okay, so could you just remind me then, if Minister Hunt was to raise the Taiji issue directly with the Japanese through the IWC, when would be the next opportunity?
Well, the IWC meetings are now held biennially, Senator,
Biennially,
so
yeah.
it would be 2 years from...
2 years from now. Okay. Could I ask just about the new...
Sorry, that's barring him or Australia raising it out of session through some of the other mechanisms of the IWC.
Well, the question was answered on notice that the IWC was the appropriate avenue for him to raise this directly. Would it still be possible that he will raise this out of the Commission meeting now if it's in another 2 years' time?
Well, it's possible, but I wouldn't...
Okay.
I can't speculate
Fair
on that.
enough. In relation to the New Zealand resolution, what effect does the passing of that resolution have on the Japanese fleet's ability to undertake lethal whaling into the future?
Under Article 8 of the Convention, a country that wishes to undertake special permit, or so-called scientific whaling, is not constrained by anything other than the requirements in the Convention itself. So any country can issue itself a permit to undertake special permit whaling. The ICJ decision on the matter did say that such countries should take into account or take note of any advice that might come from the Commission or any of its committees as they relate to special permit whaling. Now, that's been the standard practice, that countries that bring forward proposals for special permit whaling are required to lodge them with the scientific committee 100 days or 3 months before the committee has its meeting, so that the scientific committee can consider the program and provided such advice as it sees fit. The recent adoption of the what was then the New Zealand resolution, but is now Commission practice, put some more structure and gave some more guidance as to the specifics of what the scientific committee should look at when it provides advice to a proponent country on a special permit program.
Could I ask, just as a matter of interest, whether you or the Australian team helped draft that resolution? Or did you originally draft that resolution? Was it an Australian resolution given to the New Zealanders?
Well, certainly the Australian team was involved in helping to frame the New Zealand resolution, Senator, yes.
So
as were a number of other countries, a number of other like-mindeds.
Did we give consideration to sponsoring that ourselves, or why did the New Zealanders put it up? Was there a reason?
New Zealand was best placed and was willing at that point to take the proposal forward, the resolution forward.
And your team's shown a lot of leadership on this issue over a long period of time. I'm just interested, did the Prime Minister's office have any direct contact with you on whether we would sponsor that resolution, or whether we should get New Zealand to sponsor it for us?
I'd have to take that on notice in terms of the specifics.
Okay.
Senator Whish-Wilson, I think New Zealand became a party to the ICJ hearings during their proceedings. If my recollection is correct, they have shown a degree of leadership and in this space as well. And I think Australia and New Zealand have historically, through governments of all persuasions, worked cooperatively on what is an issue in which we have shared and mutual and common objectives.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't dispute that, Senator Birmingham. I was just
one more. We can come back if we've got time.
okay. If you could,
Senator, just to clarify a point of process there, I think you, and reflecting on your question, you asked whether the Prime Minister's office had contact with us. We deal with the Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet. So if there's a matter of coordination across whole of government, we deal with departments.
So I'm not quite sure.
Not with other ministers' offices, as a matter of.
So that means the answer is no.
The answer is no.
The answer is no. Okay. Could I just ask then, last question, what other legal avenues does Australia have, if any, to prevent Japanese whaling in the future? Is there a possibility of appeals or other avenues if they proceed with a lethal whaling program next summer?
I think it's probably a question better given to the Attorney General's Department, who prepares our legal advice and legal positions on those things. But that would be, again, it's a speculative question. Couldn't answer it unless, Ms. Schwartz, you want to add anything?
Could I just ask just very, very quickly, what non-lethal what non-lethal whale research is being undertaken by Australia
We won't go
this
back
summer?
to
Has there been any commitment
We
following the
don't
IWC meeting to commit to, for example, the blue whale research program? Has that now been... Is there any clarity around that?
There is non-lethal research that is ongoing. I mean, last year the Minister approved a series of grants for a lot of non-lethal...
Sorry, I meant non-lethal. Did I say lethal research? I meant non-lethal. Yeah, non-lethal research.
Okay. Well, there are a series of grants under the Australian Marine Mammal Centre that are continuing. They don't conclude for another year. They were multi-year projects, and I think there were, well, there are 95 all up over the course of the program that have been underway. We're also having some preliminary discussions with New Zealand about a potential voyage they're holding in the upcoming austral summer, and we'll have discussions about that with them as to whether we participate, and that, of course, would be a non-lethal research voyage.